Okay, no one else talk.
I'm dying to
Stop.
know what Camper's going to ask.
Gosh. Okay.
Trying
So-
to help you.
Were you bare-chested when you felt another man's bare chest?
Yeah.
What?
Welcome to the Squad Life Podcast. The best thing since somebody decided to fry catfish. It's Jake.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back. We got another week of amazingness here with the squad. With me here, I've got to my left.
It's Cody Lewis. What's up, everybody? I'm currently sitting in a chair that's a little bit too low for my desk. And to my left is...
Yeah, it's Brandon Ward, and chocolate cake is not cake, it's a brownie. And to my
Yes.
left is...
What's up, people? It's Camper Cobra here. Glad to be here. I'm excited for this week's recording. I think we got a good one in store. Real quick, want to shout out Golden State Warriors. 4-1 over the Cavs, hoisting old Larry and bringing him back to the Bay. Shout out.
And again, it's Jake. I'll be hosting this week, as everybody said so far. Really excited. I think it's going to be another good episode for us. So to get us started, how was everybody's week this week?
Well, mine has been good so far. We're actually recording on a Wednesday night when we would normally record on a Friday or even a Saturday. But this week has been pretty good so far. In class on Monday, in our anatomy lab, we actually got to touch on each other. And I'll actually explain a little bit more about that in the podcast. So I'm gonna throw it over to Brandon now.
Yeah, don't know what to say about that, Cody. It's actually been a really weird week for me so far. As you said, it's only Wednesday, but there's already been a lot of weird stuff that's happened to me this week. Starting with Tuesday. I went to work out Tuesday, and I forgot to eat breakfast. So if you've ever worked out, you know you don't want to work out on an empty stomach. So I stopped at a Walgreens that is right next to the gym and purchased a protein bar. And as I was checking out, I said, or after I got done checking out, I said, the usual, have a good day. And the cashier responded, "You too, honey duck." And it's one of those things that I didn't realize what she said until I had taken 5 steps out the door. And I asked myself, honey duck, is that a term of endearment? Or is it an insult? Or how should I take this? So that was kind of weird. It's just now Wednesday, and a lot of weird stuff has happened. So there's probably going to be more carry on. But that's been my week, man.
But how was your week, Camper?
Mine has been pretty good. I've been playing a lot more basketball out in my driveway. I love going out there when I can, but we're in the middle of June, and it was low 50s this week, and there was some precipitation. And if you know anything about Montana, there's a joke running around that there's really only 2 seasons in Montana, and that is winter and road construction. And right now we had a little bit of overlap on both of those because there's so much road construction going on, and we had hail going this weekend. So kind of put a stop on the basketball, but it was actually nice today that we've had in a while, or at least in the past week. So I was out there shooting hoops, and my brother takes the car to go to work. Little did I know my phone was on the back end of that car. I didn't know it. So I finished, I was out there for 30-45 minutes, and I was like, time to go inside. And I'm looking, and I said, where's my phone at? And so I start looking, and I'm always worried when I lose my phone. I think it's always under some pillow or some cushion, or just happen to get some papers pushed over it or something. It's in the most just obvious place. I just can't see it. Well, it turns out my phone was about 2 miles down the road. So anyway, about an hour later, I called my phone, and whenever I lose it, because it happens somewhat regularly, it's always on vibrate because I just hate having my phone on loud. Anyway, it's on vibrate, so turn off all the TVs, I put the dog outside, and I call it, and I'm waiting to hear the buzz. Nothing. Anyway, the phone's still going, and all I hear is, "Hello." and I said, "Oh, free." And so I start talking to the guy, and turns out he's a really nice guy. He picked up my phone, and I just got it back before we started recording. And when I talked to him, he said, "Oh man, the screen's all busted up. It must have hit a corner or something." And I was like, I thought I was gonna have to pay for a phone. If all I have to do is pay for a new screen, I'm good. And got it back, and I think it's just a crack, just a little tiny hairline crack on the screen protector. So turns out my phone's pretty good. I got it back finally, and so I figured I'd mention that here with you guys. But that's been my week. It's been cold. Lost my phone. Jake, how's your week been?
My week has been busy. It's only Wednesday, as Cody said a few minutes ago, but I've been helping with Vacation Bible School at church, and that if you've ever been a part of one of those, that's always fun. It's interesting to
Fun.
be around 120 kids 5 nights a week. So that's been. We're only on day 3, or just finished day 3, so things are going good there. But I think the most exciting thing that's happened to me this week is the fact that I finished putting together a grill that my parents got me for a wedding present, and I cooked a hot dog on it yesterday.
Jake,
Just one,
man,
just one hot dog.
you were on top of it. You can ask Cody Lewis when I had at least a whole solid 2 years, maybe right at 2 years probably went by before I even put our grill together. And Cody can attest to that because he helped me put it together.
That's true, and this thing was a booger to put together.
Granted,
how did you cook things?
Hold on. The reason why I did not put it together right away is because we knew we were going to move. And I was like, man, I don't want to put this thing together and then have to move it and risk breaking it or something. So I waited till we moved to the place we're at now. And then I was like, wow, now that we're here, we can finally put it together. So, but hats off to you, man, for getting that done.
Thank you. It was quite a event putting it together. But yesterday I grilled a hot dog on it, just one, because I was gonna eat supper up at the church for VBS, but I just threw one on there. It was delicious. I'm very excited about grilling.
Is it a gas grill or a charcoal grill?
It is gas.
There you go.
Gotcha.
How small is your stomach that one hot dog fills it up?
It would take like 7.
Attaboy.
I was very hungry when I got done. But that's been my week so far. I think we're gonna head into our main topics. Honey Duck, what you got for us?
Thank you, Spicy White. Hopefully that does not catch on.
It's gonna catch on.
Yeah, you hush. Anyway, my topic. How many of you have ever heard of the Bloop before I mentioned it?
Yeah, that's a yes for me.
I had heard of it. I think it was just in the last probably couple months, and I actually listened to it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you had to say about it.
I have not heard a single thing about it.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm about to play the sound for you before we even get into the discussion of what the Bloop is, how the Bloop came to be, and theories on what the Bloop is. So here, I'm about to play on my phone is the sound of the Bloop. Anyway, that's the sound of the Bloop. It just to give you a little bit more background, it was detected by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1997. It was located just off the South Pacific Ocean towards the southern tip of South America. And it was detected by a U.S. Navy Sound Surveillance System, or SOSUS, S-O-S-U-S, I guess that's how you would pronounce that, which was equipment that was designed to detect Soviet submarines. Just to give you a little bit of background behind this sound, after studying the sound that was emitted, scientists said that the creature that made this sound, because they did they did say that it was a living creature, had to be bigger than the largest known animal in existence, which is the blue whale, and very much larger than the blue whale, just from the sound that it was giving off. It did not resemble any other living creature that we've ever had sounds of. I guess that would be. But they said it was several times louder than the loudest recorded animal. Other significant sounds have been named by the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, which this isn't the weirdest thing. They've also actually have recorded sounds from other places, but I'm kind of disappointed because I had a lot of theories on what this was, and I was kind of really interested to see this be like some creature that we've never found before, and it very well may be. But I actually did a follow-up on it, and I went to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's website, and they said that they think they have solved the mystery behind the bloop. They believe that it is an ice quake. If you go to their website, which is the NOAA.gov, they have the sound that an ice quake makes, and then the sound of the bloop, and they compare them and kind of let you get a good feel for how similar they are. But they believe that it's an ice quake that made that sound. But they still say that there's no guarantee. Other websites have even confirmed that it very well may be an animal. So my question to y'all, first of all, is I know you didn't really get a good look or good listen to the sound, but what do you believe made this sound? And how much money would I have to pay you to swim in the location where this was recorded? Starting with you, Camper.
Let's see. I didn't get a good bit or sound bit from it. I'll have to go check it out again. But correct me if I'm wrong, but in 1997, is that when the Cold War was happening? Or no?
Man, I have no idea.
1997?
That's right. That's when they heard it, right?
No.
Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
that 1997 is when they heard it.
Yeah. The Cold War, I'm pretty sure. Was
Yeah, because
over
I mean
by
that's what they were.
Well, I'm
they
pretty
were
sure
using the Soviet to detect Soviet submarine. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure the Cold War never really ended. But that's it's just a crazy theory. I think it is something man-made. I'm having a hard time understanding how they can hear a sound and from that sound detect how big a potential animal is, and it might be the decibels or whatever. I'm not a scientist in that area, so I don't know. I'm gonna go with some ginormous microphone or even some kind of bomb that this submarine microphone picked up underwater.
I really think that you need to listen to the sound, because I don't think, not discrediting you or nothing, but I just don't think that it was a bomb or anything like that. And the reason why they can tell how big it is because they do measure the sound, and just the sound that it's emitting. I mean, I'm not an audiologist or whatever you call people who study sound, but they did a lot of research on it to come up with the conclusion that it was possibly something living and that it was something very large. But
then they concluded that it was an ice quake?
That's only recently. That's been in the past. They finally made that distinction, I believe, 2 years ago. Don't have that on me, but I mean, this happened in 1997, and it was early 2008 whenever they concluded that it was an ice quake. That's a large gap there of not knowing exactly what it was. And that, like I said, they still don't really know. That's just the best conclusion that they can come up with. They even further readings say that if it was an ice quake, it was likely one near the South Georgia island. There's a couple locations that they said it could have most likely been, like the Ross Sea or Cape Adare, if I'm even saying that right. But the theories of what it was have been everything from the lost city of Atlantis to giant squid to the Megalodon shark, just tons of theories to mermaids, all kind of stuff.
Well, my theory is that whatever it was, and I think it was a bomb, the government knows it, but is playing it off as if they did not.
Okay, how much money would I have to pay you to swim in that area where it was recorded?
I don't like deep water. If I don't know where the bottom is, and I can't see it, like a swimming pool, I can do that. Even if it's like 20 feet deep. I don't know if that's the standard size swimming pool, but I'm not just gonna go swim in the ocean, especially swim down in like scuba gear. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, that's a different discussion. I don't go anywhere where I can't see. I'd rather go into space than go in the ocean.
Even if I was in, well, that's just another terrifying thought. But even if I was in a submarine, I would not.
Absolutely.
There's too many movies, man.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I know the dangers.
I agree with you. What about you, Jake?
Okay. So I've just listened to it a little clearer now to kind of refresh my memory. I do not believe that is an ice quake. Is that what you
that's
said they say it is?
It's a popular theory is that it's a ice quake. That's the one they've most recently come up with. They think is the most likely culprit behind it.
I don't know. I've never been a part of an ice quake. In Mississippi, we really don't have very many earthquakes, but generally, which I've never experienced one. I mean, I'm under the impression that they don't last but just a few seconds, and that goes on for 3 minutes. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if ice started collapsing upon itself, if that's what they're talking about, I guess it could take a while for it to finish. But I feel like it is either some sort of large creature that we have not seen yet, and I haven't really heard a whole lot about exploration of the southern tip of South America. It's pretty close to Antarctica, so I'm sure it's cold water down there, but whatever would be living, whatever ocean. Is that still the Pacific? Or
yeah,
I guess that's the Antarctic Ocean.
It's the South Pacific.
Huh. The South Pacific, okay. But I don't know. I think it could be some sort of, big creature we haven't discovered, or it could, be another vessel, just there in the water that this Noah ship didn't realize was there for some reason. Maybe it was, it's 97. I guess stealth had been around for a little while, but maybe they just didn't realize it was there, or maybe it's something that we do understand. We just, maybe it's a large school of fish making some sort of weird noise. I don't know.
How much do I have to pay you?
I feel like it could be really simple.
How much do I have to pay you to swim in that area?
For how long?
5 minutes. I'll make a deal with you.
I'd do it for free, probably.
I will play the sound that the bloop is making, and for the duration of that 3 minutes and 14 seconds, you have to swim in that spot.
I'd do it.
How much? For free?
For free. Yeah.
Well, you're an idiot. So we're going to go to somebody who probably has more common sense. Cody, what do you think?
Well, first off, I would like to mention that I've always heard that we know more about space than we do our own ocean.
Which is accurate.
Yeah, so that's very impressive yet very terrifying at the same time. That being said, I would like to think that this is some crypto animal of sorts. I forgot what you would call those. A cryptozoologist would study the mysterious, like a Sasquatch or a Loch Ness monster. But I don't know what this could be. The theory that it's the lost city of Atlantis is really interesting. I don't know if I really buy into that, but the bloop was brought up on that mockumentary on Discovery Channel a while ago about mermaids. I would like to think it's mermaids also. So just for fun, I'm going to say it's mermaids.
Okay, how much money do I have to pay you to swim in that spot for 3 minutes and 14 seconds?
Or how much are you willing to pay me?
This is a hypothetical. I could pay you to the moon and back.
Well, I mean, do I have to dive or do I just have to tread water on the surface?
You have to tread water.
Oh, I'm with Jake. I'd do that for free.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Well, now that I've gotten around to y'all, and y'all are both idiots and Camper and me, we're the only ones with common sense. I'm going to tell you what I think.
Tell us what you think about it.
I think that it is a living creature. And even if it's not a living creature that did not make that sound, I still believe there is a massive creature that is in the water that we have not discovered yet. One TV show I watched during Shark Week tracked a shark. They had like the tracker on the shark, and they tracked the shark to the Messianic Trench or whatever it's called. What is it called, Cody?
Mariatic,
yeah, the Mariatic Trench, the deepest point of the ocean that we know of, at least. And the shark that they had a tracker on, all of a sudden,
Mariana,
okay, just the shark all of a sudden just sunk to the bottom at a huge rate, and they never found the shark again. So what could have eaten this shark, or what could have drugged
that Joker
this
got
shark?
grabbed.
So I mean, the absolute marine science nerd in me wants this to be a living creature so bad. I'm not gonna buy the mermaid thing, and I'm not gonna buy the Atlantis thing, but this has to be something. I mean, just think, people did not think in the giant squid a number of years ago, and now we have living proof that there are such things as giant squids. I mean, the little kid of the sea monsters that were described by these fishermen, I want to hold on and believe them things are real. But I think this is a great story. It definitely brings out some curiosity in you as you learn about it and you read it. I hope that all of y'all go look it up and listen to the sound. It is a pretty freaky sound, and I would not spend any money or be paid any money to be in the water, any type of water, including a beach, because I hate the water because there's shark in there. And I actually read an article today. I looked up, where can I go to swim in the ocean that doesn't have sharks? And guess where I have to go? Antarctica, because that is the only place that sharks are not present. And there's killer whales there, so I'm never going into the ocean. But anyway, that wraps up what I got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed it.
That's really interesting, Honey Duck. I'm gonna have to do some research on that and get back with you. But Camper, what do you got for us from your neck of the woods up there in Montana?
Okay, so as you all know, I've mentioned it many times on the past 3, I believe, episodes, this one being the 4th. I'm here in Montana visiting family, and this past Saturday we went to what is called a ghost town. If you don't know much about Montana, essentially all across our state there are scattered all of these ghost towns, which essentially means that there's towns standing that no one lives at anymore. And I'm not going down this route to talk about ghosts or scary sounds in the ocean or paranormal activity, but I just bring this up to say is that if you ever get the chance to come up to Montana, I mean, these are towns that have been preserved for decades, that you can go back and you can look at the history that these people lived in, 100, 150 years ago. So with that in mind, and with our discussion last week where we all kind of came to the conclusion that we were somewhat history buffs when Jake and Cody, they reminisced about their times spent at the Battle of Gettysburg. And it really got my gears turning. Montana is a great state if you want to learn anything about history. There's a lot of history here, as I'm sure there are with a lot of states, but the history here is some of the more fascinating history in my opinion. So I thought it would be beneficial for us, or just fun to kind of get each person's perspective here. But I thought it would be cool to present the piece of history that we find the most interesting, and then kind of explain to our audience why we find it interesting and why it intrigues us. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and open it up, and then we'll hear from Spicy here in a second. But my piece of history that I wanted to kind of tell the audience about, first of all, did you guys hear anything or a lot about the Lewis and Clark expedition growing up in school?
Sure.
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Like a lot of it, or was it just kind of mentioned in passing?
Pretty extensive for me. Sacagawea.
And I'm going to go with not very extensive in my schooling because I can't remember much about it. Just that the guys' names were Lewis and Clark.
Right.
I feel like we went in pretty deep about it because I remember, understanding, the importance of it.
Right.
But, I can't tell you, very many details about the routes they took or where they went or anything. I know they were in the northwest up there, but that's about it.
Yeah. I was just wondering because, as Spicy just mentioned, a big focus of their journey was spent up here in the Northwest, and Montana takes a lot of pride for being a state that they spent a bulk of their time in. So with that in mind, I thought I'd just kind of tell you guys a little bit about the Lewis and Clark expedition, kind of fill you in on some of the facts that I find most interesting and most important. So Thomas Jefferson, back in the very beginning of the 19th century, back in 1803, he purchased from France the Louisiana Purchase. Now, the Louisiana Purchase is not just Louisiana, although the main attraction is found there, the port of New Orleans, something that the United States valued very highly, was the main attraction there. But it went from New Orleans up into a couple of provinces in Canada. It didn't have a huge reach into Canada, but it covered the bulk of Montana. So if you can kind of picture in your mind's eye from New Orleans to Montana, that is what we purchased. And Thomas Jefferson paid $11.25 million US, and then he wiped out some debt as well, or wiped out some of France's debt as well. But he paid $11.25 million. I think I remember in school that coming out to be about 3 cents an acre. So with this, what he was trying to do was trying to find the best route to be across the continent. So if you know anything about the layout of North America, in the Rocky Mountains, there's the Continental Divide. All the rivers and the streams, they all flow into the Mississippi River. Everything west of that flows into the Pacific Ocean. So what he was doing was trying to find the best waterway from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean. If he can find that, he'll be the first country, America will be the first country to do that. So with that said, he sent a corps, I think it is the Corps of Discoveries, the other name for the Lewis and Clark expedition, but he sent about 100 guys from St. Louis, and they spent 2 years, 2.5, 3 years really, going to the Pacific Ocean, somewhere in Oregon, I think, and back. In that, they documented all the waterways, the streams, the rivers. They documented all the animals they saw. They tried to make peace with the Native Americans, and they tried to set up, a relationship that the United States could trade with them and everything. And with that, they actually discovered a lot of things that we just didn't understand, right? So there's no grizzly bears in Mississippi. Lewis and Clark had never seen a grizzly bear. Well, they did see a grizzly bear on their expedition, and it took about 13 shots for it to go down, and that was something that they've never seen before. So something like that, I think, is just a unique part of history that you really see man exploring into the unknown, right? And really from JFK up until now, the unknown is space and I guess apparently the Pacific Ocean. But it's really cool to see man go almost back into its primitive state, exploring, a part of the continent where it had just never been documented. Animals, waterways, streams, plants, mountains, all that stuff. So that's why I like the Lewis and Clark expedition. If you don't know anything about it, it's a great piece of history to go check out. Spicy, I believe that you have the next one.
So my favorite point of history, I think, and you said that started in 1802 or 1803?
Purchased in 1803. They started in 1804.
Okay, so in 1803, exactly 60 years after that, in July, the Battle of Gettysburg was taking place, and you heard me talk a little bit about that last week, and you'll hear, I think you heard me mention Little Round Top in that discussion, and one thing that makes Little Round Top so interesting to me is, I didn't really go into very much detail about why it's so interesting, but there at the Battle of Little Round Top, you had basically leading up to that, the Union Army had entrenched itself in the shape of a fish hook on top of a ridge, basically, and the Confederates, their plan, this was the second day of battle, which they you had one guy that was wanting to take Big Round Top, which is next to Little Round Top, and they urged General Lee to take that hill and postpone an attack until they had the high ground there at Big Round Top. But he said, no, that'll take too long. We're going to flank them. So what the Confederates did was they sent, I think it was actually a group from Mississippi and Alabama to the flank, to the end of the line there, at the end of the, it would be the eye of the hook, if it was an actual fish hook. And their plan was to go up the hill and attack the flank of the Union, and basically they were going to roll the line up. And they charged. The thing about Little Round Top, if you've actually been there and seen it, it's very rocky. It's very steep at the face of the hill. That's one reason they came around to the very far flank, because it wasn't as rocky, but it was still steep. And they charged up the hill. And a guy by Colonel Chamberlain, which was a professor at a school in Maine, with the 20th Maine Infantry, was the far flank. And he says that we are the flank of the Union Army. Like, we are the end of the line. We have to hold it. And he, they knew that the Confederates were coming, and the Confederates charge. They fire back, and since the Union has the high ground, it's not a big deal. Well, the Confederates go back down the hill. They regroup. They come back again, and this happens 4 more times. At this point, this is in July. It's hot. It's humid, and they're worn out at this point. Both sides are just exhausted. They hear the quote unquote ghostly rebel yell for the 5th time coming up the hill, through the trees. Colonel Chamberlain, which is, not a military man, makes the decision they're running out of ammo. He says, we can't just stand here and hold the hill. We've got to attack them. We've got to charge them. So what they do is they fix bayonets, and they kind of line up at an angle. And when the Confederates come up the hill, they have a sweeping motion like a door, and they charge them down the hill. With most of these guys don't have any ammunition, and like I said, just exhausted, and they're charging down the hill, and there's this hand-to-hand combat here on the side of this hill, with the rest of the Union Army. The rest of the United States really can't do anything about it. They're just here watching it, hearing it take place, but they've got to hold their ground where they are. And Colonel Chamberlain was able to hold his ground there on Little Round Top and hold the flank for the Union Army there. And that's oftentimes been said to be the changing point of the war right there. And he's the hero of Gettysburg in a lot of people's view. And when you think about it from the butterfly effect point of view, if he makes the decision not to fix bayonets, not to charge down the hill, are we 2 separate nations right now? But because he did that, the United States has become what it is today, one of the greatest nations to ever exist, in my opinion.
Sweet. What about you, Cody?
Yeah. So I'm gonna, I guess, go way, way back before the events of Little Round Top. I'm gonna go all the way back to the Renaissance. All right. So the Renaissance is just a fancy word, and it's a kind of a hard word to spell. Actually, I had trouble with it. But it means rebirth, right? So it's referring to a rebirth in knowledge and curiosity. So basically, people began to think for themselves instead of being controlled by quote-unquote superstition and fear. The Renaissance is a time period right after the Middle Ages in history. So the Middle Ages were from 400 to 1400. And just to give some examples of Middle Age thinking. So just to give an example of some Middle Age thinking, at one point in time, people thought that the Earth was the center of the galaxy.
Right.
Right. So this comes from a guy named Ptolemy. And just to give you an idea of how weird this guy is, he spells his name with a silent P at the beginning. So Ptolemy, Ptolemy. But then this young gun comes along named Nicholas Copernicus. And so Nick Copernicus comes along and challenges that idea by saying, no. The Earth isn't the center of the galaxy, the sun is. And in fact, the other planets revolve around the sun too. So needless to say, he probably got a lot of flack from everybody, especially the religious authorities of the day. You see, because they had this kind of control and everything. But historians have the Renaissance beginning, again, right after the Middle Ages or somewhere in between, around 1350, right? So it begins in Italy with the rest of Europe following suit around 1450. And encyclopedia.com has it ending around 1620, but I'm pretty sure there are debates on that among different historians. However, I'm pretty sure they can all agree that some pretty important figures lived during these years. So you have artists like Leonardo and the rest of the Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael.
That's right.
You have scientists like old Nick Copernicus, Francis Bacon, possibly Kevin Bacon's ancestor, question mark. Galileo and
Galileo.
And Johannes Kepler, which he contributed a lot to physics, the field of physics.
He sounds like a basketball player.
Johannes Kepler? He might have balled in the day. I don't know. All right, then you have guys like Martin Luther and Erasmus.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard of Erasmus. I mean, I've heard of him, but I don't really know much about him. But they contributed to, theology, philosophy, stuff like that. And poets like my boy, all the way from Stratford-upon-Avon, the one and only William Shakespeare. Right? So all these thinkers, these scientists, these mathematicians, they're all coming out of the Renaissance. They're curious about how the world works. They're specializing in their fields of poetry, science, mathematics. They're really challenging the status quo by challenging the status quo, which that sounds kind of weird, but the status quo of that day was don't think for yourself, do what we tell you to do, and they were all about going against that. So I think that's my favorite part of time in history is the Renaissance, because we get a lot of the ideas we have today from that time. And so just to cite some references, owlcation.com, encyclopedia.com, and biographyonline.net is where I found the majority of that information. But that's all I have. So,
Brandon, what you got?
I'm gonna be a lot shorter than you guys because I didn't prepare that much. But my favorite piece of history, at least world history, is the period of time that the Roman Empire was the authority, I guess. I don't know what to really call it. I mean, it was such an expansive empire, which is why it's so interesting, and it has so much to do with so much. Like you see it in Scripture. You see even bits and pieces of it today in our culture and the way we live. A lot of technology that they used back then, we're still using. A lot of the architecture that they had, we learned from. Just a little source right here. The Roman Empire lasted from 27 BC to 395 AD. It expanded all the way from Rome, which was the largest capital at that time, all the way to Egypt. I mean, it was just massive. And you have figures like Caesar and all these other big figures that took place around that time, like Spartacus and just all these things. The Colosseum, just there's so much interesting topics that are in that. It was kind of a melting pot of languages and religion and just all these different things that we don't even think about a lot. It was felt everywhere. It was felt in Egypt. It was felt in Israel. It's just so massive that its reach is so far that you just can't help but want to study it because it has such a large role in world history. It's not just one tiny event that just happened. It was something that lasted for such a long period of time. I would say that was one of my favorites. I also like Dunkirk. And the reason why I like Dunkirk, I was talking to a friend about it today over coffee, was the fact that you had all of these casualties losing their lives and being captive, and then you had these little fisherman vessels that were going and making rescues. Just the courage that they had to go into a war zone to help save lives. It's just something that you can't help but appreciate and want to learn about, but it's just so interesting. So those are two pieces of history that I've always liked, and I didn't really know a whole lot about Dunkirk until Christopher Nolan's movies, coming out, and I wanted to do more research with it, so I did that, and like I said, talked about it today with a friend who actually has a degree in history, so we were going back and forth about just different historic moments and kind of fangirling out on different pieces of history.
Time does confide us, but just wanted to point out the fact of how big Rome was in the BC era. Even though Brandon, I think you said from 300 AD is when it was abolished or had kind of returned back or receded back from its full glory. But even that led up to the control that the Roman Church had up until the point of the Renaissance, and then so it's all connected too. So kind of pinpointing back to what Spicy said, with the butterfly effect, you could go back and change one thing and it would change a whole lot. So thank you guys for telling us about your favorite points in history. Anyone listening here, we want to hear from you. Tell us what, if you are a history buff or if you just remember something from history class, let us know what your favorite point in history is. If it's one that we brought up or something else, let us know. Shout us out on Twitter. We'll be sure to give you a retweet and a shout out that way as well. That's all I have for our second main topic, though.
Thank you. That's all of those are incredibly interesting to me. But that's going to wrap up our main topics. We're going to head into our individual segments, and Cody's going to get us started.
All right. Well, I really feel like once we get big enough, we should have individual theme music for these individual segments. But for right now, I'll just stick to introducing mine. It's time for another installment of Awkward Cody. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, this week, though it's been short so far, has already been weird, and apparently it's already been weird for a lot of us. But this Monday, in our anatomy lab, we were doing our dissections as normal. We were working on our cadavers, but then for half of the lab period, half of the class was over in a separate room of this building doing palpation lab. And what palpation means is basically you're touching or you're feeling for certain structures on another person. All right. So we were touching on each other's upper chest, shoulder, back region. We were trying to find the scapula, the clavicle, different muscles. And, this obviously could have been a really, really weird situation. A really awkward, face turning red, weird circumstances. But for some reason, it wasn't even that bad. Like, we were paired off into groups with male, female. We didn't really get co-ed with this, which I'm kind of glad.
Right.
My face definitely would have been turning red then. But me and my partner, we just took off our scrub tops, did what we had to do, got dressed again, and went about our day.
So when I asked if I were to ask you how your day went or what you did today, you could say I felt up another man.
Yeah, no, that's what I definitely would have told you. I would have been I got to
with no shirt on.
Yeah, I got to feel up another guy.
Yeah, I did not realize that the clothes came off for this.
No, it was we had to be bare chested, and
I've
the
got a
girls
question.
the girls were wearing sports bras.
That's kind of unfortunate.
The girls were wearing sports bras. Guys were bare chested, and it was a good time.
Were you
Just to throw this in there,
when you
Cody,
felt-
Cody,
It's a little weird.
Cody and I have measured each other's BMI before, so we have potentially touched the gluteal line and other areas of the body
Right, and
for academic purposes.
right,
We're-
and just to
What
define
was-
terms, the
I've
gluteal
got a
line
question.
is where the high thigh meets the butt. Right,
It's the
So
booty
where-
line.
It's the booty line.
Okay, no one else talk.
I'm dying to
Stop.
know what Camper's gonna ask.
Gosh. Okay.
Trying
So-
to help you.
Were you bare chested when you felt another man's bare chest?
Yeah.
What?
Okay, so okay.
What?
And that'll be Camper's What the Freak segment for this week.
Camper's face is red. He's embarrassed for you.
All right,
No,
so this is how
You
it
guys
worked.
wouldn't let me
all right?
talk first.
This is how it worked. We were in groups of 2. Some groups might have had 3, but groups of 2. So I just I took my scrub top off first. I was like, I'm gonna go and get this over with. All right. So then, after my partner gets done finding all that we were supposed to find, he takes his top off, and I had the choice to either put mine back on or leave it off, and I just left it off.
Oh my gosh. There are so
Wow.
many jokes coming to my head right now that I actually have a migraine.
Well,
Like I said, like I said,
I would have dropped out at that moment.
No. No, that I mean, like I said, it wasn't that bad. Like, we're all like-minded people at this point in this program, so I think we were all under the same mindset that we just got to do this, get it done, and then we can go home.
Good sport.
But yeah, that's this week's installment of Awkward Cody, and like I said, it wasn't that bad, but it could have been.
It sounded bad.
Really bad.
Well, my hands were cold the whole time, and my partner, he was like, "Bro, why are your hands so cold?"
Your partner, the one whose shirt was off when your shirt was off.
That's right. Yeah.
At least your hands weren't sweaty.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
In that
could've-
situation, you need to make sure that your eyes are open at all times and that you're completely aware of your surroundings. I just want to throw that out there for you.
Well, yeah. What's funny is my partner was saying that at one point he was just staring around, looking around the room, and he accidentally made eye contact with someone, and at that point he was like, "Oh shoot, look away."
Yeah, Brandon. Let's stop talking about this.
Yeah. I will say there will be no shirtless discussion with me because I'm going to present some movie news. So basically what's going on in the movie world, the Black Panther trailer, if you have not seen it, has dropped. It dropped during the NBA Finals on Monday.
Looks
It is
amazing.
already in the top 3 trailers for Marvel as, in terms of views. Also, who remembers The Conjuring 2?
Yes.
Me.
All of us do because we all went to go see it with each other.
I tried to forget about it.
They are doing a Crooked Man spinoff. If you can remember the Crooked
Yeah.
Man from
Ooh.
Conjuring 2.
Yes.
He's the one that looked like the guy from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Jake's very excited.
And he even had his own little creepy poem.
Yeah, there was a Crooked Man and I
He,
don't
had
know.
he walked a crooked walk and blah 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 blah.
Anyway, also some more movie news. Spider-Man Homecoming is coming out July 7th. They announced this week that it will be a trilogy, so there will be 3 Spider-Man movies. Also, speaking of Spider-Man, Venom, which is not connected to the MCU, will start filming in September, and they just casted Tom Hardy, my old man crush, as Venom, which I'm really excited about. So there's a lot going on in the movie world. E3 is going on still, so there's been gaming news that's been announced daily. They released a trailer to Assassin's Creed, the new Assassin's Creed game, which takes place in Egypt.
Which is awesome.
They released trailers for a standalone Yoshi game. They announced that there will be a Pokemon RPG game on the Nintendo Switch after speculation that there would not be. It will be released sometime within the next year. So there's just a lot of exciting stuff going on in the movie and the gaming world. So make sure you keep your ear to the ground and everybody loves trailers. So the second you see a game or a movie trailer, go watch it. That's all I got.
I'm so excited right now. That's gonna bring this one to me. First of all, let me say congratulations, Camper. Your Warriors won their second championship in the last 3 years.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll shout them out. But my question to y'all is, how do you think the NBA will do something anytime soon, if at all, about these quote-unquote super teams? Just briefly.
Okay. Well, as one who doesn't really watch too many sports on TV or really even follow it that closely, I still think, I don't know, by super teams, I guess you would refer to the Warriors, the Cavs.
Yeah, mainly.
Pretty much the Warriors.
Pretty much the Warriors, yeah.
A very
just the
stacked
Warriors.
roster with a lot of depth.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much any team that is unbeatable on 2K, which is only the Warriors.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, honestly, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'll interject that the Cavs were considered a super team until they played the Warriors. So
that's debatable.
I was just going off the
Well,
past
they had-
2 years in the playoffs.
they had the big
'cause, you know,
three.
I mean, it's been them both years or both times. So
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll answer this in a two-part answer. So, do I think the NBA will do something about the super teams? First off, I think they'll look at it. And in that, I think the owners will get together, the commissioner, the league, I think the Players Association, whatever that's called, they'll get together, the representatives for that, and they'll look at this because I don't know the ratings, I don't know the numbers of this year's finals or this year's playoffs. I do know that there is a negative connotation surrounding this year's playoffs as a whole, the first, second, third, and the final rounds. I think the surrounding or the overarching theme is that it just wasn't competitive enough for the fans' liking. And as a Warriors fan, I admit that I am a little biased. And if I was not a Warriors fan, I feel like I would leave with just an unsatisfied taste. That I would feel as if we deserved more. Although I did find it exciting seeing, the Warriors, but a lot of people already expected them to, and a lot of people expected them to do it rather quickly. So they actually did that. I think the league will look at it, and they will look at all options. However, I don't think it's smart to mess with player mobility. If you deny Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, where's the line, right? So I don't think the league has any room to interject here, right? As long as teams do it fairly and they do it under the same salary cap rules and the luxury tax rules, and they assemble the teams fairly, I think that it's all fair game. Now, the league does step in during trades that they deem as unfair. Back in 2010, I think, Chris Paul was sent from New Orleans to Los Angeles Lakers, and the league said, no, that's not fair enough. So that trade was cut off, and we learned a few years later that Chris Paul signs with the Clippers in the same city as well in free agency. So I think the league can step in during unfair trades. I can't see anything or any circumstance where the league steps in during a free agent or a free agency time period decision and say, no, you can't do that, as long as they're doing it fairly. And I believe that everything the Warriors did to acquire Kevin Durant during free agency was to or in alignment with the rules. A lot of people call it unfair. They feel gypped. They feel like they deserve more from the league. I can see that argument. That's a tough discussion to have, though, because there's a lot of bias. I'll admit that on both sides, but it was done by the rules, in my opinion. So it's hard to mess with player mobility because no other league does that in free agency. So that's my 2 cents.
Brandon?
I'm going to start off by saying that as much as I want to say that, just starting off, that Kevin Durant going to the Warriors was a weak move, I'm so glad that the Warriors did win so we can move past that. He's won a ring. Mm-hmm. He did it in a probably the best way he could have done it. He dominated the game. So you can't say that he didn't have a huge role in that and that he just rode along for the ride to win a ring. He actually, averaged 35 points a game in the finals. So, can't judge that. But I am biased, and I legitimately hate the fact that KD went to the Warriors. Not just because he was playing for my team, the Thunder, just because for me, it was not a very interesting playoffs to watch this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have the statistics, not numbers, but it was released today, on the news at least, that this was the most watched finals since the 98 Bulls finals. I think they said like 25 million, maybe more than that. But it was a very high-rated finals, but it was not interesting to me. But I do appreciate you, Camper, for seeing it both ways, getting past some of the bias that you have to see that you can easily see how it wasn't, how some people could perceive it being not as fun and just the negative side of that.
Yeah.
I too don't know what the league will do. I do believe that they'll look into it, but I don't really know what they'll do besides stepping in on trades, which, like you said, if you open that door, then there's no limit to what they can do. It's almost like the league is controlling the teams. At the same time, I don't like the fact that there's a potential for 2, 3, even 4 super teams to exist. That it's just a repetitive championship type thing where it's the Cavs and the Warriors every year, or the Spurs and the Cavs every year, or whatever it may be. I don't like the fact that we're going to see players try to get with better players and have that going on. I do think that the Warriors situation is very different. It'd be different if the Warriors could have did what they did without KD, and then KD joins. That's saying that there's something different with that. Like, for me, I don't think the Warriors could take down the Cavs without Kevin Durant, at least not in 5 games. I know that all y'all would agree with me with that, or at least I hope you would, because I don't think Warriors without Kevin Durant could pull it off in 5 games. I think it goes 6 or 7 games. But if the Warriors could pull it off, then I definitely see the issue with adding somebody like Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant going to the Warriors completely takes out their main competition, which is Oklahoma City. You also have the Spurs, and I would have been interested to see what that would have looked like with Leonard not being injured. But
right.
I hope the league doesn't have to step in, is what I'm trying to say. I hope that we see this upcoming year is going to be a lot better. And I hope every NBA team has that mentality to just go at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my brief. I'll give you my brief opinion. I kind of have the same mindset as Camper, which, is pretty much the same thing as Brandon. I'm a proponent of the free market in all aspects, and it's no different for the NBA. You don't want to blame a general manager for doing his job and bringing in top tier athletes, and no matter what the sport, you want to have the best players in the game, and you don't want to fault the GMs or the front office for doing their job. But at the same time, if you just continue to have the best players get with the best players just so they'll have a better shot at winning a ring, which you also don't want to fault the players either. I mean, I don't. If I was a professional athlete, which I'm not, but I still love to win. So I mean, no matter what I'm playing, I want to put myself in the best position to win, even if I'm playing a pickup game. If I look at the best player out there, I want to play with him because we're probably going to win. But if you have a situation where the best players are playing with the best players, you're gonna have these situations where you've got the Spurs, I mean the Cavs and the Warriors, where you've got the Warriors that have built up this one of the best franchises the NBA's ever seen probably, and you've got, in my opinion, the best player of the generation, just trying to get enough talent surrounding him to even compete with Golden State. And we've created this situation where for the foreseeable future, you're going to have 2 teams playing in the finals, which it's interesting. The finals are interesting. Game 3, 4, and 5 were pretty good games. But leading up to the finals, I mean, all the other playoff games, you knew what was going to happen. You knew Cleveland was going to get there, and you knew Golden State was going to get there. So the rest of the playoffs, there's no real drawing factor that makes me want to watch the Eastern Conference Finals with Cleveland and Boston. You know, I mean, right now it is what it is. But unfortunately, I do think that you'll see the NBA step in and do something, which I would hate to see, because like you said, Camper, Golden State followed the rules that are there. They went by the guidelines, but in my opinion, they have created a super team. That's pretty much all I had to say. I wanted to get y'all's takes on that, and I also want to add real quickly, coming out just a few hours ago, I'm pretty excited. Found out on August 26th that Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather are going to fight.
Yeah, they are.
Finally. So I'm super excited about that. We'll have to talk about that later, because that's the end of my segment here, and I think we're going to wrap up our individual segments with What the Freak, Camper.
All right, so I know that I picked something that I figured that we could all agree on, we could all contribute to last week. I feel like we should all be able to be on the same page this week as well, but I want to take a minute to just go the extra mile, right? So this week I am hating on babies. I cannot stand babies who cry in public, right? So I mean, let me set the scene for you. We're at a nice place, not a fancy place. I don't even know if they let babies into fancy places, but a nice place, right? So maybe somewhere in Meridian, such as Logan's or O'Charlie's or something. I'm not talking McDonald's here, because I feel like McDonald's is just asking for trouble like this. But imagine getting your food, enjoying it, having a nice conversation, and the bill is going to be a decent amount. I mean, you're eating with the family, or you're going out with your date or whatever. For me, it's probably eating with the family, and from halfway across the restaurant, this baby just starts crying, and not just crying like tears. I'm talking screaming, right? So Brandon, I know you can relate here. You might have a different opinion because you do have Sam, but let me finish this. I do want to hear your perspective, and if you disagree with me, I want to know why you're wrong. But I've got a proposal here. So the fact that I hate babies so much, I feel like it should be made illegal for babies to cry in public. So here's my proposal to Washington. So I think that Washington should look over a bill. They should vote on a bill. They should pass a bill making it a law, saying that parents, when they do go to the hospital to give the world a new baby, before they leave, they're presented with a document. And inside of this document essentially says that if you have plans to go to a public place, you cannot take your baby unless he or she is, let's say, 3.5 years old. So why do I do this? Why go to such extensive lengths? I just don't want to hear it, right? So if I'm eating, if I'm going to some other public place like the theater or a movie, or if I'm just strolling down the street, I do not want to hear a screaming baby, right? And I'm pretty sure no one else does either. So, I'd rather not have my ears bleed. So I just want to make it illegal for babies to cry in public. So, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh no, you're 23 years old, you're single, you're gonna have a kid one day, and you'll just understand, right? And I'm just looking at him and I'm saying, no, I won't understand, right? I'm just gonna live with it for 3.5 years, and even then, I'm thinking about adopting, so I just skip that whole phase, because I don't want to deal with the crying or the pooping or the vomiting. I just don't want to deal with it. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like your ears bleeding or do you not? Spicy, you're going to get married soon, so do you like crying babies?
Let me Let me first of all preface this by saying I love babies. I think babies are amazing and they're cute and they make me laugh. But that being said, I'm not a parent yet. I have siblings who have multiple children and of all ages. So I've seen several stages of children crying. I will say I see where you're coming from there, camper. When I'm in a public restaurant, and well, as if there was a non-public restaurant, but when I'm in a restaurant and I'm trying to sit down, like you said, either on a date or with a family, and a baby starts crying. If it's taken care of quickly, the situation is resolved, whatever the issue was. Okay, it's not a big deal. Babies cry, they have dirty diapers, they're hungry, and it also depends on the age of the child. If it's a small baby, they're gonna cry sometimes. I can live with it, but as long as it's resolved in a reasonable amount of time, it's not an issue for me. But what I can't stand is when you have a child, 2-3 years old, that knows better, and isn't, doesn't, they're just crying just because they're not getting what they want, and they start to scream bloody murder in the middle of a restaurant, and that situation is not resolved. That's when I get mad, because, and I understand, I'm not a parent, but sometimes being a parent is exhausting, because not only have you dealt with this child all day, but you've been dealing with this kid for 3 years. It gets exhausting. I've always been under the impression that if you start your child learning at an early age, that you're not going to get your way all the time, especially in public. You've got to behave. There's a certain standard for the way you're going to act, and you're not going to get your way all the time, and you're not going to cry about it when you don't get your way. I know you're not technically next, Brandon, but I really want to know what you're thinking right now, because you are, you do have Sam that is like right in the age group I'm talking about.
Wow. Illegal, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think illegal is good.
I will say this.
Don't bring
good
it in
luck.
public.
Good luck. Good luck with parenting, camper. You're going to be there one day, and I've always said I wanted to be a fly on the wall when you are. When it comes to the crying and the pooping and the throw up and all of that.
Now I'm just skipping that.
Sometimes you just got to man up. But I don't have a different opinion than either of y'all. I do think that crying can be very annoying. I was listening to it a lot today. But I agree with Spicy more than you, camper. I think that if it's handled well, if the parent recognizes that it is a nice place. And I mean, if you're going to a nice restaurant, why would you want to bring a baby in there anyway? Like, you're spending the money to enjoy it. Like, take the baby to the babysitter if you're going to go somewhere nice. I don't think Debbie and I have ever gone anywhere nice and had Sam with us. So I think if it's handled well, if you recognize your child's acting out, you take them away. I do not like when babies are crying in church. Like, that gets under my skin. Like, we've had it happen before where it's like this baby's crying, and it's like, well, you going to take them out? And, like, they keep him in there. And, like, that aggravates me. I mean, Sam actually was not that big of a crier. We've been blessed. He doesn't cry a lot. He doesn't get his way, and he gets upset sometimes. And good luck, Jake. You said that you think a 2-year-old should be able to handle himself in public, and no, that's not correct at all. That's the worst time. That's when you're trying to get them to understand that, but they just can't understand that. Like, that's against their nature. So
I think
maybe the 4 and 5 range is more what you're thinking of, where there's no excuse. They should just know. Because the 2-year-old age is when you're trying to teach them, like, this is how you act. This is good. And then they're like, no, but I don't want to act like that. I want to act like a heathen. So I feel like this group is a good practice for you guys, because we whine a lot. So I think, camper, you saying baby should be illegal is saying you should be illegal. Because there's been a lot of times you've whined about a lot of stuff.
So you're not listening. I'm saying baby shouldn't be legal to cry in public.
Okay. So when you cry in public, does that count?
I don't scream in public, but thank you. Cody, what are your thoughts?
Oh, boy, is it my turn now? Wow.
Yes.
All right. I don't think I can say anything new just listening to the three of you, and mainly And mainly Brandon and Jake more the rational side of this controversy. But
Cody is half asleep right now.
I really am. It's past my bedtime. But I'm doing this for you listeners. So you're welcome. But just to say, a baby's going to do what a baby's going to do, and babies cry. So I it doesn't really bother me when they cry just because I understand that that's part of life. So if I'm at
Not Camper, though. He was a perfect baby. He didn't cry in public.
If I'm at a restaurant and I hear a baby crying, I'm going to take notice of it, of course, but I'm just going to let it roll off my back. Now, if I'm trying to have a conversation with someone, I don't get very loud. I hate trying to talk over, a truck with pipes driving real fast down the road. I hate trying to talk over loud noises, but again, I'm just going to let the baby cry. It's up to the parents to do what they need to do, just like Jake and Brandon were saying. It doesn't really bother me.
I do want to add something real quick. Just to show you how much Camper does not like a crying baby, there was one time he was at my house, and Sam was teething, so he was kind of fussy, and Camper was like, he was ready to go. Like, he was there for a little bit, but then he's like, all right, bud, I think I'm going to head out.
Yeah.
And I interpreted that as, your baby won't be quiet, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah. And real quick. Okay, so real quick, just to go full circle, I think Jake had something to add after this. As much as I don't want it to be confused with me hating babies, I just want it to be focused in on that I hate babies screaming. So maybe to make it a little more precise, what I hate more than anything in the world, I think a couple of you guys mentioned this, is when the parent allows the baby to cry in public and they do nothing about it. So yeah. I mean it's like, oh, we're just teaching him or her, or they'll
it's
learn.
like they don't even hear it.
Yeah, it's like, no, you won't. Like, I'm trying to eat my burger, just.
And don't let them fool you. You don't get used to the sound. You always hear it. It's not like, well, my baby's cried so much I just don't even hear it anymore. You liar. You know it.
Right.
Well, thanks, baby hater, for bringing that situation to the light for us.
That's all I gotta say, man. I'm adopting.
Anyway, Camper, do you have any plugs that you'd like to plug in for us?
Yeah, real quick. Just want to plug a series, or I guess a trilogy, if you will. It's something that's been playing on ESPN this week. 30 for 30. It's essentially the story of the Lakers and the Celtics and their rivalry in the 80s. It is the best 30 for 30 that I have ever seen. If you have not seen it, and if you are a basketball fan, you will enjoy this. There's 3 parts, though. I recorded it, DVR'd it. I'm sure you could find it on the ESPN app or YouTube or something, but check it out. It is amazing.
I have a plug this week also. Just kind of sticking with my theme of anatomy on the backside of this podcast. I'm going to plug my Atlas of Anatomy. It really helps in learning the muscles, so that's what I have this week.
For anybody that works out or likes to run, my plug-in this week is Advocare. It's a company that has like supplements, vitamins that helps aid you in your workouts, recovery, different stuff like that. They even have little packets you can put in your water that help energize you, give you energy throughout the day. So I've been using that while I've been working out, and I've had a lot of success with it. So if you're interested, just look up Advocare and see what they've got to offer. And
I'm going to plug the Keurig. If you don't have a Keurig, you're missing out, especially if you're a coffee drinker. Very rarely do I not throw a K-cup in the Keurig in the morning and have a cup of coffee on the way to work. So shout out Keurig. You're doing a great job. Keep up the work. All right, and before we wrap this up, got a couple quick announcements. Brandon?
Yeah. You hopefully by now have finally had your eyes glaze upon the blog post that I wrote that was submitted last Thursday on our website. Just keep an eye out. We're going to be trying to post those bi-weekly, so you won't see one this Thursday, but you're going to see one the next Thursday. So just remember to yourself, blog, no blog, blog, no blog, blog, no blog. Just keep that in your mind. If you need to keep replaying this till you memorize it, please do that.
And this would be the time where we read some of your guys' fantastic reviews that you have given us. However, it seems that we have slowed down on that front, so I don't have a review for you guys this week. However, if you want me to have one next week, go to iTunes, search the Squad Life, look at us. There should be a write a review option. Go ahead and give us a review. If you like the show, give us an honest 5-star review, and we will read your review in the next show. So do that. If you're anything like me, you'll forget, so do it now.
And I honestly don't think anyone can beat last week's review, so take that as a challenge. Write us a good review. Last week's was really good.
Very good.
But that being said, if you want to follow us on social media and contact us that way, you can go to Facebook, type in the Squad Life Podcast, and it should pull up. So go ahead and just like that page. You'll be updated with anything that we have going on. Also follow us on Twitter at _Squad Life. Those are our 2 social media outlets. So go ahead and check those 2 out.
Yep.
Well, that pretty well concludes it for this week. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too. Looking forward to next week, where who knows what we'll talk about, but I'm sure it'll be pretty hilarious. Anyway, we're all exhausted, so we're gonna call it a night. So we'll see y'all.
Yo, Jake, Spicy White Lee, go ahead and hit him with a see ya.
See ya.